Hello, ladies, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Marcella Christina, and on this channel, I teach women how to become their highest selves. So if that's something that you're interested in, be sure to subscribe. And if you're not new here, welcome back, girlie. Thank you for taking some time out of your day to be here with me. So, in full transparency, this is an episode that I literally have recorded. Probably this is like my third time recording it. But that just is confirmation to me that this is an important message that I need to get out today. So yeah, we're going to be talking about seasons, and we're going to be talking about it through the lens of Moses. So really quickly, for the past few weeks, I've been thinking a lot about the season of life that I'm in. And I think so often, we often get bogged down in the day to day of life, going through the motions, and we seldom think about the season of life that we're in. And even though I think that it's perfectly fine and advisable to take life one day at a time, there is some benefit to being able to understand the season that you're in and what God is calling you to do. So a few weeks ago, God led me to discovering the Moses Netflix documentary, right? And I believe he called me to watch this series because so much of the questions that I was having about the seasons of life and, you know, positioning myself in a season and how to hear from God in a season, so much of those questions were answered in this series. And so I wanted to discuss the seasons of life, how we can identify the season of life that we're in, what God is trying to teach us, and how we should navigate. And I want to do this by taking a look at Moses' life. So Moses has a very interesting and vast life, right? His history is so extensive that it would be hard for me to cover it all in this episode. You know, he's born an Israelite. He grows up in Egypt and as a royal, right? He ends up killing a man, goes on the run. This is the sped up version. Um, God is calling him on a mountain. He comes in contact with God. Take off your shoes, Moses. This is holy ground. And God reveals to him that he needs to go back to Egypt and let his people go. So I fast forwarded there because there's a lot that Moses does, but it all ends with him. Well, not ends, but it actually begins with him setting God's people free. So now the people are free from Egypt and they end up in what is the wilderness on their way to the promised land. And that's what I really want to discuss today when we're talking about seasons of life, right? So the Israelites were slaves. Moses frees the Israelites, and now they're in the wilderness. And they're looking to Moses as their leader. Obviously, they know God is God. And we'll talk about that because if you know anything about this story, you know how grumpy the Israelites were and how much of a hard time they gave Moses. But they understand that he is the one that hears from God. So they look up to him as a leader. And I really wanted to understand the wilderness. Like sometimes I really think to myself, 40 years is a long time to be wandering around somewhere. Like with to be wandering around in a place that is, if it's called the wilderness, right? Like it's a barren place. It's a place that, you wouldn't think that God would have his people there. You just wouldn't expect God's children to be in the wilderness. But the more that I watch the documentary, the series, excuse me, and fascinatingly enough, all of the messages that I've been receiving from church have been also diving into this. It's the wilderness was not, it was a punishment, but it was also a classroom, right? The wilderness was meant to reveal to the Israelites what was actually in their heart because they could not bring the thinking, the mindset, you know, their disobedience, they could not bring that into the promised land. And that's what God was showing them in that season. And so something that I discovered was that the promised land was actually only 11, it was supposed to be an 11-day journey. So how does an 11-day journey turn into 40 years, right? And so that's when I was thinking through the lens of seasons, I was saying, God, hold on, because we all are on a journey to our own promised land. We all have the vision in our mind that God has given us to where we need to be and where we need to step into. And in my mind, it dawned on me, God revealed to me, how long have I been in the wilderness? And so I started asking God, like, please reveal to me the areas that I may be wandering around for, you know, 5, 10, 15 plus years in a place where it was supposed to only take me 11 days to get to. And that's so important. That's why I say it's so important for us to think about the season of life that we're in, because then we can show up in the day today in a different way and be more impactful and be more present and have an open ear to what God is teaching us. And so the Israelites stumble around for 40 years. And, you know, at first I judged them. God forgive me. At first I judged them because I'm like, how did you guys not get it together in the 40 years? But when you really think, these people had been in bondage for centuries. So for them to now be in this place and understand freedom and understand like where God was taking them into, there was so much unlearning that had to happen. And it does take time. So a lot of us don't want to admit that, the season that we're in, we might be wandering around and hitting our head. And sometimes you have to do that for a while in order for you to actually learn the lesson that God is teaching you. So that's something that I've really been focusing on, is understanding the season, learning the lesson the first time. And if I'm not able to learn the lesson the first time, taking something away from it so that I'm able to pass the next test that God sends me, right? It makes no sense for us to stumble around in the wilderness and call that life. We're not supposed to be stuck in the wilderness. It's supposed to teach us something. Whether it's 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 40 years, your God's people are going to come out of the wilderness. That's not the question. The question is, how long will you be in it? And I do believe that, the Israelites, it was their punishment to be there, because when the spies, I would highly recommend watching that series on Netflix, by the way, when the spies went to the promised land and they came back with all of these, negative remarks and basically not believing that this was the land that God had prepared for them or that they could inhabit the land. So God punished them because of their lack of faith, their lack of belief. And he also used that time to show them what was in their heart. So had their heart changed, would God have released them faster? Maybe. Or maybe God knew that what was in their heart needed 40 years. And I think it's the latter. I think that when we're in seasons of our life and we feel like, this season has not passed. Like, I don't understand what's not, like, why this isn't moving faster. And it's like, you have to understand that God knows the end from the beginning. He knows how long it's going to take for you to get from one place to the next place, the lessons that you're going to have to learn, the amount of times you're going to have to repeat the course. Like, he knows all of those things. And our job is that when we're in a season, we need to keep our eyes open and our ears open, and we need to be able to take in the information that God is giving to us and take it seriously. Take our lives a little bit more seriously. Take the lessons and the things and the people that show up and the way that we treat them and understanding the patterns. We need to take that seriously, because it's not just happening by chance or like, it's very intentional. God is a very intentional God, especially when it comes to his people and his children. So what is your wilderness? I want that to be our homework for this week. What is our wilderness? What are the things that we feel like we've been barren in or dry in? And ask ourselves, why do we feel like God hasn't elevated us or graduated us into the next season? Why haven't we reached that promised land yet? And I know for a fact that it's because there's something that he's teaching us there. It's something that we need to learn. There's an area that we need to correct within ourselves in order to be the people that he's called us to be and to inhabit the land that he has for us. So I know that was a quick deep dive into Moses's life, and I would love. This is a story that fascinates me. His life fascinates me so much, and even the fact, the messaging that's another episode in and of itself. How he himself was not able to go into the promised land because of his own disobedience to God, from frustration, from anger, because he had he struggled with anger, and there were multiple times that God revealed this to him, and him not taking heed, or him letting his emotions get the best of him, ultimately led to him not even being able to enter the promised land that he led people to. So definitely something that I'm going to revisit in the future, but I definitely just wanted us to lean into the fact that you know the wilderness is not the end. The wilderness is not the end. And oftentimes it is only the beginning. And we should be so grateful as children of God that we have a God that loves us so much, where he wouldn't want us to enter into a space until we're ready and until we're able to enjoy all that it is that he has for us. So type in the comments. Let's see what I would like you to type. Type in the comments, promised land. Promised land. That's all I want to see in the comments, because we're all stepping into the promised land. We're all stepping into our promised lands before the end of the year. So yeah, I definitely want to see those comments. If you do that, it'll let me know that you listened to the all the way to the end. And as always, ladies, I appreciate you so much. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe. This is a sisterhood, it's a safe space, and it's all about empowerment and being able to connect with other women. So love it. Love what we're doing over here. And I'm so excited to have you guys join us. Okay. So, as always, ladies, I love you so much, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.